Hello and welcome to the theElpyDimension. I'm your guide Elpy, and this is mixed worm bin number 3, take 3. Because apparently first I started to record and then remembered that I hadn't at least just gone and looked at the last recording, the last visit. And then I paused because some of the food that I have started to fall. I don't understand what was going on, but then somehow when I came back to start recording, I hit stop. And I could put the videos together, but I would rather just start over. So I put everything back. I had pushed everything over in terms of the blanket and started to dig in that corner. But first I'll tell you what I was telling you before. Today is the 9th of December, 2024. The last time we were in here was the 23rd of November, 2024. So 16 days ago. Prior to that, it had been the 9th of November. So it's been, which was a month ago. So the last feeding, I actually did feed them. I gave them a small unripe pumpkin from the garden. And 2 whole bananas. They did not eat the banana. Well, they didn't eat one of the bananas, and I think I took those skins out. I think they had mites on them, and I may have discarded them. Well, put them in the outdoor compost. But they ate the whole pumpkin. The bin ate the whole pumpkin, except for the stem. And I was surprised. I just fed bin 4, and I was surprised to find last time that bin 4, I just peeked in on them, and that pumpkin and their bananas was on the 23rd. Was not even almost half eaten. That was really surprising to me because that's a stronger population. It's all gone now. It's from the 9th. Yeah, so, and also last time I discovered some standing water in the bottom of this bin. I don't mind wet conditions. That encourages breeding. It's wet. The bottom of the 4th bin is wet right now. Lots of worms down there. That doesn't bother me, but when I see standing moisture, I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. So I added a lot of, I saved empty toilet paper rolls. I added toilet paper rolls to this corner and that corner, and then I fed over here, just to kind of absorb some of that. So it's cold in here, as we would expect. That's a nice little worm with a good clitellum. We've had sort of a warm up outside. I believe it got up to 50 degrees today, which is pretty dang good in Michigan for December. Now in bin 4, basically in all the other bins, I would normally discover, oh wow. Why do we still have so much standing water? Now that I've never actually seen in my bins. I've never seen that much. Okay. We dug up some, because that's enough to like drown them if it weren't for all the material sitting in. Okay, we just scooped it out so it doesn't look as dramatic, but it's still pretty. And it's not the usual sulfur smell, but it's definitely got a smell. Okay, well that changes. I have wet shredded paper, and note to self, I was shredding the paper right before I started this, and some pizza boxes. If the pizza box is super greasy, I don't use it, or I just use the top for those who have, anyways. And I just went ahead and I had a half bucket of water, and I just went ahead and added the shredded paper to the water, and now I'm like, that's a reason not to add the water or all of it, because now I really wish I had dry shredded, but I have plenty of paper that I can just tear up, or I got a lot of paper bags I'm looking at right now and various things that I save from shipping. And so did I add water last time? Like, why is there still so much water down there? Wow. It's pretty wet and, okay. I'm looking at something right now that, how did I even get to using this? Somebody gave me some fruit years ago, and I think I added this to worm bins. I keep putting my shirt all in there. Actually, I should put food in here. No, I'm not going to. Yeah, you see that, like, this bin has, or this box has been through something, but I'm like, why? I do not remember what happened that I guess it wasn't getting broken down and I took it out and decided to move it. I don't know. Alright, so we're going to let this thing sit on the bottom, and I should like bury it all the way under there. Maybe that's what I should do. Alright, let's go ahead over to this corner. Okay, this is the stuff on top. Now, for a smaller population, it's not entirely surprising. Well, no, I've said this before in other videos. It's not surprising. Even in my big populations, I've seen it where the worms are all in the feeding zone. There's some hair in another toilet paper roll. And so, there's a cocoon. Yeah, dang. It is straight up swampy down there. Those are all that little pile of, those are springtails. Help! Help! Man overboard! And that's a worm that just fell in. It's not very clear. Okay, focus. But wow. Yeah, this is really swamp thing down there. Okay, we'll turn this on its side. Alright, so interesting discovery. Oh wait, but we still want to fill this up, or else it's just going to take up a bunch of room. Okay, let's go ahead and sort of let things. All right. That's very interesting. Hold on. My shirt sleeve wanted to join the party, and it didn't want it to. Okay. Now I wonder if I should go ahead and, I was going to leave the dry leaves to continue to serve as a blanket. However, I'm probably going to let them go ahead down into the bottom. Okay, so last time we had a half of a pumpkin that I busted open, and I gave half of it to, well, less than half of it to this bin and the rest of it to bin 1, who gets checked out next. And I also put some greens in the pumpkin. Just laid them on top. I served them. It's a little bit warmer over here. And there's more worms. This is part of a amaranth. Well, this is an amaranth stalk. You see it's getting pretty well worked. So far I don't see any pumpkin. I see worms. Not a ton. Not as many as I see in the other bins. There's part of our pumpkin. And this is a toilet paper roll, and this is... Oh, I put a Jimmy John's bag. I think I put it under the pumpkin. And some leaves. I really don't see worms in this bin like I do in the others. And the others, I continuously, and with every scoop, there's just tons of worms. And here, I almost forget that I'm looking for stuff other than the material. Yeah, it's warm. And there's some worms, and there's not... Really, it was more the orange of the pumpkin on the bag and the seeds. That doesn't surprise me. But I'm still with some good looking worms. Nice clitellum. Very wet. Yeah, very, very wet. So the pumpkin's gone, the greens are gone. Let's see, if we scoop away all the material, you know, it looks like the material's already absorbed much of the moisture. It's also possible that this bin is unlevel, so the other sides get a little bit more moisture. But this stuff is pretty swampy. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, this is not acceptable. I mean, there are worms down here, but this is too wet. There's not... It's almost like, can I just not get this bin right? Like, these worms are... They're holding their own, but... Go watch some of my other videos and see how many worms we scoop around, play around with. Let's go ahead and add some of this blanket material. And like I said, I'm gonna get more. I'm gonna go find a paper bag. Okay, so here's how this is gonna work. I'm gonna be adding a bubble mailer today to their blanket. So I'm gonna take one of their blanket pieces and put it there. I'm also gonna take a couple of pieces of torn grocery bags, and I'm just gonna put them in there as though that's where I'm gonna feed, but I'm not. And then we're gonna... There's some worms. We're gonna put all this wet stuff. Yep. Again, nice looking worms. But the bin conditions are not... It's not the end of the world. I'm just gonna... Here's the pumpkin stem still hanging around a month later. That's from the other pumpkin, I'm almost certain. We're just... So like I said, it's not the end of the world. It's absolutely too wet in here. But we're gonna fix that. Now, that does mean that what I'm about to add is gonna get a little bit of wet shredded paper. But mostly I'm gonna pile it into a grocery bag. Yeah, here's some more worms dumped on top from me moving stuff around. Okay. Now let's see how wet this final corner is. Yeah, the worms are... appears there might be more worms in this corner. Oh, there's our piece of wood down there. I'm gonna leave that in place. Yep, very wet. And there is a worm down at the bottom. Look how pretty it is. Interesting how their colors change. Yeah, more worms. So it's overly wet, but the worms are still present, even as they are. And it does stink down. I'm half smelling the brassicas, the rotting brassica mix, cruciferous fig. I actually forgot that that's also what brassicas, cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, those are called cruciferous. Yeah, there's our piece of wood. Like I said, I'm gonna leave it there because I like it absorbing down there, hanging out in the moisture. Yep, this stuff is... all the moisture's quite largely absorbed. Let's go ahead and put that amaranth stem back down there. Put some leaves, some dry leaves, drier material. Actually, all right. Okay, now, here's the story real quick. So, the food you're about to see, I obtained from a shelter that was, they have to move. It's pretty interesting because not all of it was bad, but they had to move it out. It's bad now, but they had, or I used, anyways. They had to move it out because they had to move in new stuff. They have to keep the stuff rotating. So I've got some pears, and long story short, I basically got a food donation. They do give twice a week. That's how much food waste that they get. It seems kind of crazy. Like, gosh, can't you just give some loads of it to some homeless people? But, you know, they're serving it in their cafeteria and for their meals, but they still have food waste to move on. And luckily, a volunteer started a program. I don't know how long ago they started it, but they have a situation going on with a farmer who picks up and gives it to his pigs, or he composts it. And they said, he or she actually, they said that I could take some of it, and I was like, heck yeah, I will give it to my worms. So we've got some bread, pears, and a cruciferous mix. Kale, cabbage, red cabbage, and white cabbage. And yeah, let me go. First, what we're going to do. There's a tiny bit of shredded paper in that bag. Is that going to be enough dry stuff? Yeah. Let me get the food. Okay. So, what we have here is these guys are only going to get 3 pieces of moldy bread. And they'll get a couple of pears and a mango. I'll get that. Okay. And a rotten head. I did the same thing I did with the other head of lettuce. I was like, yeah, there. I tore the bag and said, oh, the tear is over here. That's good enough. And then it wasn't. Very rotten head. Oh, gross. Of lettuce, but it'll be delicious to them. Stop trying to get every last bit. Okay, and we said the mango. That's all ready. So this is actually all pretty juicy stuff. I'm hoping that cardboard box that I added is going to be enough. I am going to add a little layer of shredded paper with some shredded cardboard. Then we've got a half a bag of this cruciferous mix that is kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, green cabbage, and cabbage all shredded. It smells horrible. The worms will love it. We'll add a little bit more to this layer. And then I want to spread this stuff out. I've changed my mind about the bubble wrap because bubble wrap is going to help. That's this shirt, man. The bubble wrap is going to help to keep moisture in, and I really don't want that in this bin. I need to get on my note-taking and journaling. Make a little schedule, because this bin, once again, especially needs to be revisited in a week. Mainly to air it out. I don't suspect that in a week they'll need more food. So my goal is more so... I just realized how much is piled over here in this corner. The goal is not to, not so much to see if they need to be fed. Not at all, actually, but rather to, stir it up and to add, more dry material as needed. So I won't go in the feeding zone. No, yeah, we will. Anyways, the reason I even added paper is because I have so much shredded paper that I need to use it up. This stuff will more than likely dry pretty well. I probably shouldn't cover this at all, but I'm going to. And I'll probably also add more shredded paper as a blanket to the bin number 4. But if you recall, we did kind of steal part of this blanket anyways. So I think I'll kind of leave the edges at least a little bit more. So, well, let me know what you think. I think definitely the plan for a week to, yeah, I should be back in here next Monday, because of how wet it is, and just get some shredded paper or shredded cardboard. If I can get some dry leaves outside, things are kind of wet, and either way, especially actually cardboard, shredded cardboard, even just torn up cardboard, just cardboard period, that thing hopefully that box I put in there will hopefully absorb a fair bit of moisture. Maybe it's got some wax in it because it was a fruit box. Maybe. We'll see. So we'll see. Let's check back in here in a week and see if we need to add more dry material. Because again, it doesn't need to be. I don't need it to be really dry. You know, in worm bin standards, I don't need it to be just moist. I'm okay. I want this bin to breed, so I want it to be wet, but I don't want it to be wet like this. I don't want it to be this wet. So yeah, I should add a box. And stay tuned, because I think coffee grounds are in our future. Now it's time to feed my favorite bin, bin number 1. Thank you so much for your time and your interest. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. If you're a worm farmer, or you have been, a gardener, or you have been, or you want to be, let's chat. Be safe, be well. Bye for now.